ITV soap viewers will recall that Graham, portrayed by Andrew Scarborough, met his demise in a whodunit storyline 6 years back. Whilst his spouse Kim Tate, Claire King, was initially under suspicion for arranging his murder, it was actually Marlon Dingle, Mark Charnock, who was the one who ended up behind bars for the killing. Emmerdale fans were therefore gobsmacked when Graham resurfaced in the village during last month's Corriedale crossover. A flashback sequence later showed Graham paying a visit to his former partner Rona, Zoe Henry, where he disclosed that he'd returned to assist April Windsor, Amelia Flanagan, in fleeing from villain Ray Walters, Joe Absalom. Emmerdale fans were therefore gobsmacked when Graham resurfaced in the village during last month's Corriedale crossover. A flashback sequence later showed Graham paying a visit to his former partner Rona, Zoe Henry, where he disclosed that he'd returned to assist April Windsor, Amelia Flanagan, in fleeing from villain Ray Walters, Joe Absalom. Graham subsequently made his way to Home Farm to see Kim and his loyal confidant Joe Tate, Ned Porteous. Despite attempting to justify his reasons for staging his own death, Joe remained unimpressed and contacted the authorities, reports the Daily Star.in. Friday's episode, February 6th. Now streaming on ITVX, Gabby Thomas, Rosie Bentham, and Lydia Dingle, Karen Blick, were taken aback to discover Graham in the Home Farm kitchen. Joe and Graham subsequently opted to stay ahead of village gossip and prepared to make a public outing, unveiling Graham's return. The duo headed to the Woolpack for a beverage, leaving the locals utterly stunned upon their entrance. "Have I had one too many?" questioned Eric Pollard, Chris Chittle, prompting Joe to hilariously respond, "Have you never seen Jesus Christ Superstar before?" Whilst everyone else watched on stunned, Ruby Milligan, Beth Cordingley, approached to greet Graham, remarking, "Whoever you are, you've nailed the big entrance." Following a brief reunion with Ruby's husband, Caleb, William Ash, Graham and Joe settled at a table to await their drinks. Yet Charity, Emma Atkins, was far from pleased with Graham's nonchalant return, swiftly ordering the duo to leave the premises. She challenged him. "Why are you really back? Come on, Sherlock, saving April's bacon might be one cover story, but you can't rewrite history," hinting that his true motivation was Rona, which he promptly dismissed. Charity responded, "I better be wrong, because Marlon's had a tough enough time lately without you chucking a spanner in his marriage." Speculation is now mounting amongst Emmerdale viewers that Graham might embark on a clandestine relationship in forthcoming episodes, though not necessarily with Rona. Multiple fans are suggesting that Ruby could develop romantic ties with him instead. One viewer posted on a Facebook fan page, "After that entrance in the pub, I can see Ruby and Graham having a fling," whilst another commented, "Oh yes, I see that," and a third observed, "I wouldn't put it past her considering she slept with her husband's brother before." What a twist. ITV soap viewers thought they had witnessed the final chapter in Graham Foster's dark and dangerous story 6 years ago. The ruthless businessman, portrayed by Andrew Scarborough, was at the centre of one of Emmerdale's most gripping whodunit storylines, culminating in his apparent murder and a devastating chain of consequences that left scars across the village. So when Graham resurfaced during last month's Corriedale crossover, fans were left utterly gobsmacked, and the village of Emmerdale thrown into absolute chaos. Because Graham wasn't just back, he was very much alive, and his return threatens to rip open old wounds, reignite long-buried tensions, and potentially spark a shocking new affair that viewers are already buzzing about. A death that defined Emmerdale. Back in 2019, Graham Foster's death sent shockwaves through the Dales. Found dead in suspicious circumstances, the investigation quickly spiraled into one of the soap's most complex and emotionally charged murder mysteries. With Graham having burned bridges across the village, there was no shortage of suspects, but attention soon focused on his wife, Kim Tate. Given Kim's ruthless reputation and her turbulent relationship with Graham, many were convinced she had finally gone too far. However, in a heartbreaking twist, it was Marlon Dingle who ultimately paid the price. Wrongly convicted for Graham's murder, Marlon ended up behind bars, enduring unimaginable guilt, fear and isolation for a crime he did not commit. Though he was eventually released, the psychological toll of that ordeal never fully left him, something viewers know has continued to shape his fragile mental health ever since. For years, Graham's death loomed large over Emmerdale like a ghost that refused to rest, which makes his return all the more explosive. The Corriedale crossover bombshell. During last month's high-profile Corriedale crossover, Emmerdale fans were stunned when Graham suddenly appeared alive, a moment that instantly lit up social media with disbelief, confusion, and excitement. At first, viewers were left scrambling for answers. How could Graham be alive? Who knew? And why had he chosen now to return? The answers came in a dramatic flashback sequence later in the month. A secret visit to Rona. The flashback revealed that Graham had quietly returned to the village weeks earlier, paying a clandestine visit to his former partner, Rona Goskirk. Their history is long, complicated, and emotionally loaded, and it didn't take long for fans to suspect that Graham's return had less to do with heroics and more to do with unfinished business. During their tense reunion, Graham revealed his reason for resurfacing. He had come back to help April Windsor, who had found herself entangled in the dangerous drug-dealing operation run by Ray Walters and Celia Daniels. According to Graham, April was in serious danger, and he felt compelled to intervene. While Rona was visibly shaken by his sudden appearance, she listened as Graham explained that helping April escape Ray's grip was his priority. Yet viewers couldn't help noticing the lingering looks, the unresolved emotion, and the sense that Graham's feelings for Rona hadn't vanished with his staged death. Home Farm Confrontation. After his secret meeting with Rona, Graham made his way to Home Farm, determined to face the woman he once loved and deceived, more than anyone else. His reunion with Kim Tate was explosive. Years of resentment, betrayal and anger came flooding back as Graham attempted to justify why he had staged his own death. He insisted it was the only way to survive the dangerous enemies he had accumulated. But Kim wasn't the only one unimpressed. Also present was Joe Tate, Graham's loyal confidant, or so Graham believed. Joe listened as Graham laid out his explanation, but he remained unconvinced. Rather than protect him, Joe made the shocking decision to contact the authorities, signaling that Graham's past crimes were far from forgiven. According to reports from the Daily Star, Joe was furious that Graham's deception had contributed to Marlon's wrongful imprisonment, a line he simply could not ignore. A public reveal at the Woolpack. In Friday's episode, February 6th, now streaming on ITVX, Graham's return became public knowledge in spectacular fashion. Gabby Thomas and Lydia Dingle were left speechless when they walked into the Home Farm kitchen and found Graham standing there as if he'd never left. Realizing that whispers would soon spread like wildfire, Graham and Joe made a bold decision. They would get ahead of the gossip. Their destination? The Woolpack. As the duo walked into the pub, the reaction was instant and priceless. "Have I had one too many?" Eric Pollard asked, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. Joe, never one to miss a dramatic moment, quipped back, "Have you never seen Jesus Christ Superstar before?" The pub fell into stunned silence as villagers stared at the man they believed had been dead for 6 years. Ruby makes her mark. While most struggled to process what they were seeing, Ruby Milligan wasted no time stepping forward. With a sly smile and a sharp remark, she greeted Graham with, "Whoever you are, you've nailed the big entrance." It was a moment that immediately caught viewers' attention. After a brief reunion with Ruby's husband, Caleb Milligan, Graham and Joe took a seat, attempting to act as though nothing was amiss. But not everyone was willing to play along. Charity declares war. Charity Dingle was having none of it. Furious at Graham's audacity, she stormed over and ordered him and Joe to leave the pub immediately. Her words were sharp, loaded with accusation and anger. "Why are you really back?" she demanded. "Come on, Sherlock. Saving April's bacon might be one cover story, but you can't rewrite history." Charity openly suggested that Graham's true motivation was Rona, a claim Graham quickly denied. But Charity wasn't convinced. "I better be wrong," she warned, "because Marlon's had a tough enough time lately without you chucking a spanner in his marriage." Her words struck a nerve, both with Graham and with viewers at home. Fans predict a shocking new affair. As the dust settles, speculation among Emmerdale fans is reaching fever pitch. While many initially assumed Graham's return would reignite his romance with Rona, viewers are now increasingly convinced that a very different relationship could be on the cards. Enter Ruby Milligan. Following their charged interaction in the Woolpack, fans have taken to social media to suggest that Ruby and Graham could embark on a secret affair, one that would send shockwaves through the village and devastate Caleb. One fan wrote on Facebook, "After that entrance in the pub, I can see Ruby and Graham having a fling." Another agreed, "Oh yes, I see that." A third added ominously, "I wouldn't put it past her considering she slept with her husband's brother before." What a twist. Given Ruby's complicated past and Graham's penchant for chaos, many believe such a pairing would be explosively on brand for Emmerdale.